Okay. Yeah, I didn't want to get cut off there at the very end, so we'll just go ahead and finish this group. The easiest thing to do is you just basically, you can now just grab a hold of these things and squeeze, and you put it over, and you make sure it's set in its little groove. It just snapped in. This one. Just squeeze, slip it over, and make sure it's there down in the groove. Okay, so those are nicely set and they aren't going to fall off, so I don't think I need to tighten them. Now we'll go ahead and take off now the cap that we only use to install safely. That's that groove. On goes this is the set nut. As I said, if it's not set properly, that's when you get that little mark. You don't want to hit the bell of the group with the yoke. 17 millimeter on this one. So we'll take it all the way down to the shoulder and we'll see what we've got. Okay, that's good. I've got, can you see the space that we have here? We've got almost 1/8 of an inch. Now the other critical space that we're looking for is down here. Now you see there, you cannot see any section of that bottom seal. And sometimes it depends on the wear in the group. Is that this, I've got this tightened all the way down against the shoulder, this nut. Sometimes you may have to change the setting of this nut if you've got wear in the rod, the hole that goes through the rod that holds that pin. It'll go down too far. And if it goes down too far, it'll also, you'll show the lip of the seal will actually be visible here. And it can, as you move this up, it travels even farther down. But from the orientation, you've got a nice space here. You've got a good meeting right on this section here. So we'll just go with that setting. You can go down and you can take a half a turn back, and it'll be farther down.
When you speak of the setting, you're talking about the nut on the top of the rod.
Right, this jam nut. See, if we go a half a turn back, we're touching the bell. I usually make this setting with it up so you don't scratch this top piece. That's about 1/4 of a turn back. You're 1/16 of an inch from the bell, a little farther down here. So that's probably a little more to specs. So we raise this up so we don't scratch it. We hold this with 17. And we tighten this down with 15. And once again examine. We've got a nice gap here. It's not hitting. We're 1/2 millimeter perhaps, but you can't see any seal. So that's pretty well set up. Now, lastly, we go ahead and we just drop in our group portafilter gasket. I just push it down in there. Your final set will be with the portafilter. All right, now here, screen. Start it on one side. That back corner is in. I just slide my thumbs to the front corner and push down firmly all the way around until it snaps. If it doesn't snap, possibly you need to check to see if you've got that groove clean. Okay, I've got to raise the portafilter. Make sure that's seated.
You just use the portafilter to push that?
You just use it as a tool.
In.
No basket. I just put it in there and make sure that I seated it. Okay. Now we've got some extra lubricant here, which is not going to hurt. Better. Now you check it, and it feels nice and smooth. One thing you can do is if you plug this and you lift this, it suctions on the, if you have a suction surface. So the seals are nice and tight. It feels good and smooth. Lastly, just so you don't forget it in the heat of, once you see this thing going together, you're going to get real excited. We're using the silicone for this place now. And to do this, you have to roll it backwards. I roll it backwards about a half a turn and then put it into the slot, and it didn't work. So I take this and I roll it backwards and I get it stuffed in there. Whoop, didn't work. And I roll it backwards.
Maybe a pain in the neck
There.
to get it installed, but it's reusable.
It's reusable, and the nice thing is it just stays in there once you, but you do have to roll it backwards to get it
Into the spot.
Yeah, because otherwise then you're trying to install it as fast as you can. Now I'll take the siphon tube and get it started. Usually this, now that since everything is so clean, you just go by hand and you pull this down till it's straight. I have had one case where this went too far and it was loose. Instead of being vertical, it was loose. I had to put some Teflon tape on it to make sure that I had this installed at basically a right angle. So at this point the group it's got a little bit of slime on it, but it's better to have too much slime than not enough. You don't need to put that much inside the cylinder, but these parts are critical to keep those nicely lubricated. And once again, you test it up and down. If you feel any drag or rub, you can add lubricant to the slot over here onto the rod. You can just stuff some down in there. If you felt like that you needed some extra down in this boss, as you can see that we're very smooth and everything is clean, besides the fact that it's got slime all over it, and that part is ready to install. And this is, this is one of the most important parts of your rebuild, to make sure that you did not tear a U-cup edge when you were installing it. Make sure that you're nicely lubricated here. Check your gap between the yoke and this. If it hits, you're not going to get a full pull. You want it to stop before it gets there, and that's the function of this nut. So at this point, you have a nicely rebuilt group. We have the steam that's rebuilt. We have this that's rebuilt. We have the group that's rebuilt, all ready to install. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to hang the boiler on the frame, install this is just about, I can just about redo this, but once we install the boiler on the front frame, we do a little metal work on it, and bang, it's all of a sudden it's done. So the next step will be in the next video, where we're going to address the intermediate assembly, then suddenly the final assembly, and it's going to be beautiful.